number is so large it stops sounding real. $3 trillion. That's how much the US government borrowed in a single year not long ago. And here's the uncomfortable part. When a government borrows trillions, someone on the other side gets paid. Not metaphorically, not eventually, immediately. So who is it? Because it's not who most people think. When governments borrow money, it doesn't feel like borrowing. There's no awkward conversation, no loan officer, no denial letter. Just a press conference, a vote, and a quiet auction most people never hear about. But right now, with debt levels exploding across the world, interest payments becoming one of the largest government expenses, and inflation still lingering, this question suddenly matters a lot. Who actually gets the money? And why does the answer feel so unsettling once you see it clearly? Let's start with something simple. Governments don't have giant vaults of cash. When they spend more than they collect in taxes, they borrow the difference. They do this by issuing bonds. A bond is basically an IOU. Give us money now. We'll pay you back later. With interest. Sounds boring. That's the trick. Because this boring process quietly moves trillions of dollars every year. Here's what actually happens. The government announces it needs to borrow. It schedules an auction. Banks, pension funds, insurance companies, hedge funds, foreign governments, and sometimes even central banks show up. They bid. Whoever accepts the lowest interest rate gets the bond. Money flows in, instantly, and the government spends it. Roads, military, salaries, bailouts, social programs, tax cuts, all paid for by borrowed money. So who gets paid? First answer, big institutions, not regular people, not voters, not taxpayers in the moment. The biggest buyers of government debt are massive financial institutions managing other people's money. Pension funds buying bonds to pay retirees decades from now. Insurance companies parking money safely. Banks fulfilling regulatory requirements. Asset managers balancing portfolios. These institutions don't buy bonds because they love governments. They buy them because the system treats government debt as safe. And safe gets rewarded. But here's where it gets more interesting. In many countries, the single biggest buyer of government debt is the country's own central bank. Yes, the government often borrows from itself. It looks strange. It feels circular. Kind of is. The central bank creates new money electronically and uses it to buy government bonds. This is called monetary operations, or when done aggressively, quantitative easing. The government gets cash. The central bank gets an IOU, and new money appears in the system. No printing press required. So when people say, the government is borrowing money, sometimes what they really mean is, the government is asking its central bank to create money and promise to undo it later. And that's where the quiet tension starts, because someone still gets paid interest. Even when the central bank holds the bonds, interest payments flow. They're often recycled back to the government eventually, but the money still moves through the system first. Now zoom out. Globally, governments owe over $90 trillion. That debt pays interest every year. So here's the uncomfortable math. Interest payments are now one of the fastest growing government expenses. In some countries, they rival or exceed spending on healthcare or defense. That interest doesn't go to the public. It goes to whoever owns the bonds, which increasingly means asset holders. People with money already. This is where the hype breaks. We're told government borrowing helps everyone. It stimulates growth, creates jobs, it stabilizes crises. Sometimes that's true, but the mechanics tell a quieter story. Borrowing funnels predictable, legally protected income to bondholders.
The central
every
bank
year.
serves as
No
the epicenter
productivity
of the
required.
economy,
No
attracting
innovation
and
required.
stabilizing the
Just
flow of
ownership.
capital.
It's not evil. It's not a conspiracy. It's a design choice. And designs have consequences. Here's an irony. The safer a government bond is considered, the lower the interest rate it pays. That sounds good for taxpayers, but it also means bond prices go up. And who benefits when asset prices rise? The people who already own them. Meanwhile, inflation quietly erodes the value of cash wages. Rent goes up. Food gets more expensive. The bondholder gets paid first. Always. Now add foreign governments to the mix. Countries like China, Japan, and oil-exporting nations hold massive amounts of foreign government debt, especially U.S. debt.
It makes
Not
no
because they
sense.
want political
Where does the money
leverage,
go?
but because global trade creates dollar surpluses. They sell goods. They get dollars. They need somewhere safe to put them, so they lend the money back. It's a loop. Goods flow one direction, debt flows the other. This means a portion of a country's tax revenue doesn't just go to domestic institutions. It flows overseas, quietly, contractually. Again, not a scandal, just math. Now here's the part most people miss. Governments don't need to pay off their debt the way households do. They roll it over. Old bonds mature. New bonds are issued to pay them. As long as lenders believe the government will keep taxing, printing, or growing, the system continues. The risk isn't default. The risk is loss of confidence. If investors start demanding higher interest to compensate for inflation or instability, borrowing gets expensive fast. And suddenly, who gets paid becomes politically explosive. Because higher interest means more public money flowing to debt service instead of public services. Schools compete with bond payments. Hospitals compete with bond payments. That's when austerity shows up. Not because money vanished, but because priorities hardened. And here's the quiet absurdity.